I give tips, tricks, and content content that was funny. Hey YouTube, it's your girl Razia J, and I'm back with another video. If this is the first time that you landed on my channel and see my face, welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm glad that you are here. This is my channel where we rock with Ray and faith, family, and social work intersect. So I am a believer, military spouse, mom of two, and a dope macro social worker. A little bit about this YouTube channel. This place is where I seriously take an opportunity to share my life, but also empower future social work professionals. I give tips, tricks, and content that provides a baseline for social work students to feel empowered and to just have a little bit of support along their journey. I have a bachelor's in social work, a master's in social work, and hopefully one day I can say that I have a PhD in social work because I seriously love this profession. Now that that's all out the way, this channel is really about intersection. It's about the fact that I love the Lord, I love my man, I love my kids, and I love social work. So if those are things that you're interested in, think about subscribing to the channel. If you have been watching my content, because many of you guys do, without subscribing, it's free 99. I'm not going to hold it against you, but check down below. Make sure that your button is not red and it is grayed out, which means that you're part of my tribe, and subscribe. And also share this. If you are a social work student, share this with your classmates, share this with your professors. Allow them to see the additional work that you're doing on your off time to make sure that you're leveling up for your journey as a student. Last thing before we get into today's video, if you did not have a chance to watch last week's video, I'm going to link it up in the cards. I believe it's on this side, and I am going to provide that for you so you can get the baseline of what we are talking about today. Last week, we talked about the power of networking as a student, and this week, we're going to talk about empowering those communities. After you have networked, after you have made communities, what is it for you to do as a social work student to really guide yourself into the profession in a way that is beneficial, meaningful, intentional, and works for you? So those are the things that we're going to cover in today's videos. I have notes. You guys know I always come prepared. So my notes are right down here. If I look away, it's just so that I can refresh my memory. I don't want to be jibber jabbing on the YouTube. So without further ado, because I did ramble a lot already in this introduction, we are going to jump right into today's video on empowering those communities and a guide that you need this academic year. Okay, guys, that's out the way. So let's get into this video. First and foremost, what is social work? If you know what a social worker is or what social work as a profession is, drop it down below. Let me know. Let me see if we're on the same page, and then we can gauge if you need additional support. But we all need support. To be honest, I don't know it all. I literally research a lot, but that doesn't mean that I know it all. To me, I believe that social work is a noble profession that is invested in supporting individuals, families, communities, and systems. I think that we are a service profession, and we are the heart, the hands, and the mind of all the good things that happens in society. So if you know a social worker or you're a social work student, pat yourself on the back. If you're watching this with a friend and they're the student, pat them on the back. Let them know that they are doing a good thing by entering into this profession. If you are a social work student, one of the things that you are already familiar with is that we have guiding principles, values, and ethics that really guide us as social workers. And if you don't know, you can get that resource at nasw.org. It's the Code of Ethics, and it's something that all social workers, including students, should be familiar with. Am I doing the right thing? Am I showing up in the spaces that I am privileged to have authority in the way that I should? Even as a student, there is a level of authority that comes with you working in an internship or shadowing someone at an internship that you need to be proud of, and you need to make sure that you're doing it ethically in the way that supports the social work profession. The reason we have these code of ethics is so the outside world could look at us and hold us accountable. So if you don't have your code of ethics, or you need to find a way to navigate finding it, please let me know. I would love to get that resource in your hand. Okay, now that we got what we do, how we do it, and what's important to the foundation of this profession, let's talk about building empathy. As a social work student, it's important to build empathy. And empathy, simply put, is the ability to understand what someone else is feeling and going through, even if you haven't been through it yourself. Empathy is the heart of the social work profession. As a social worker and a social work student, you have to ask yourself, am I able to empathize with my clients, with my colleagues, with the stakeholders that I am working with? So when I got my social work degree, we were in a panorama. Outside was outsiding, and y'all know what I mean. And because of that, I had to learn how to empathize with people that was going through tough things, whether they were losing their jobs, whether they were navigating loneliness, whether they were navigating the loss of a loved one, or navigating having to take a step back from their program. And for many of us, we did everything virtually, so we had no connection points with other people outside of Zoom. And compassion fatigue, Zoom fatigue was a thing. And I had to build my character of empathy, where I can say, just because I am having a good day doesn't mean that someone else is having a good day, and I should be able to give them the margin to have the day that they're having and respect that. So I think every social work student needs to ask themselves, do I know how to empathize with people? Or do I empathize with people when it's beneficial for me? And if you don't know how to empathize with people, remind yourself, empathy is the heart of the social work profession, and it's a skill set that you can build upon. You don't have to be perfect today with empathizing, but you can practice by asking people when they engage with you and they share something that is deep, personal, and may not be the most comfortable. Sit in that with them and ask them, how can you support them? Let them know that they're seen and they're valued, and you hear what they're saying. And even though you haven't been through that, if you've never been through it, or you have, that it does not lessen what they're going through, and they're still valuable. So build your empathy. Number 2, for all social work students, I talk about this a lot: effective communication. How are you communicating verbally, whether that is through writing or emailing or putting your thoughts on your paper for your assignments? How are you communicating the things that you are trying to get out, and is it an effective way? As a social worker, you're going to have to talk a lot, whether that's typing an email, whether that's responding to a client, whether that's making sure your notes are well thought out and other people can understand what you're saying and what you're trying to convey. As social workers, we constantly have to ask ourselves, am I helping people understand what I'm trying to convey? Coming into this profession, I wasn't the best communicator. I used to just be like, if you don't get it and you're asking me too many questions, I'm done with this conversation. But I had to really learn that effective communication means listening and listening again, and not shying away from conversations because people are asking questions or they want clarity. So are you communicating in a way that's clear, concise, and others are able to get what you are saying without feeling like, stuck, or like they need to ask additional questions? And questions is not a bad thing. So if someone is asking you a question, I don't want you to feel like, oh, Razia said that I should be able to communicate in a way that people don't ask me questions. People are always going to ask questions. I believe questions is about clarity. So do you have effective communication? As a social worker, another thing that we have to consider when it comes to effective communication is nonverbal communication. I don't know about you, but you might learn something called basic interviewing skills in your program. I know I did in my BSW program, and we learned about SOLAR, right? Am I sitting squared, right? Am I observant, right? I believe, am I listening? Like, where's my eye contact? And can I relate what was said to me, I believe? Or if it's not the right thing, I'll write on the screen what SOLAR is. But it was something along the lines of active listening and being able to pick up on communicative nonverbal cues to know what someone is expressing, whether that's discomfort, whether that's pain. Can someone be grimacing and you get it because you're paying attention? So effective communication is not just about what you say, what you read, or how you write. It's also being able to pick up on things that are nonverbal and just actions. Third, case management. If you are a clinical social worker, you are going to have to live by case management skills. Like, am I able to organize my client load in a way that is clear for me, my supervisor, and for anyone on my team? If they're looking at these notes, will they know what I am talking about, right? So as a clinical social worker, you're going to have to do assessments, planning, interventions, evaluations, a lot of paperwork, notes, and more notes. Are you able to hone that skill of writing clear? Penmanship is a big one. How are you writing? Is it legible? If you have never practiced writing, I would encourage you, if you're coming into the social work profession and you think that your penmanship is questionable, to get a workbook that helps you with your penmanship. I'm going to link one below that is my favorite, absolute favorite. I used it because I wanted to make sure that I was writing a little bit clearer and nicer. And I would encourage you to invest in the things that's going to make you a better social worker as a social work student, so that you're not learning things on the job, that you come into the job with a certain amount of leverage, that you are seen as someone that is an evolving expert. Number 5, self-care. If you know anything about your girl Razia, you know I'm going to tell you to schedule an appointment with yourself. Put it in a planner, put it on a calendar. Let the people that's in your life know that this is the day that I have scheduled for myself. Hold me accountable. As a student, I saw this firsthand. Many students got so caught up in schoolwork and trying to get a 4.0 that they didn't take care of themselves, that they were falling asleep in class when we had live classes, that they were producing papers, especially in group assignments. This is when you can see if someone is taking care of themselves. Their portion of the assignment will be so lackadaisical that you'll be like, did you even read and do the assignment? So I say all of this to say, take care of yourself, schedule time with you. It doesn't have to be this lavish thing. It doesn't have to be this, oh, I'm going on a vacation, I'm getting a $500 massage, deep tissue Swedish massage. It doesn't have to be all of that. It can be a bubble bath. It can be writing in a journal. It can be a walk in nature. It could be your favorite Starbucks drink. Whatever it is that pours into you and gives you a moment to yourself to regroup, do that as a student. That practice is literally going to follow you into the profession. I have boundaries up to the ceiling, but I get my work done. I'm happy. My employer is happy, and everyone around me is happy, right? Because Razia knows when Razia needs to give Razia some one-on-one quality time. So self-care is important. Don't neglect it because you're trying to get a grade. I'm going to give you a tip really quickly. When you're burnt out, you cannot produce the way that you need to produce. So if you are drained, if you are burnt out, if you are tired, all right, if you haven't poured into yourself, you're not going to be able to produce your quality papers or your quality discussion boards or your quality quiz grades because you're just not in a quality state. So in order to ensure that you're not even getting to that place where you're getting C's and you're not doing your best work, take care of you. It's okay to give yourself a 25-minute walk with nature to regroup. No one's going to die on your watch. Trust me. So another thing that's really important as a social work student is field experience. Ask yourself now, what type of experience do I want to gather as a student? Field work is where you get to see the theories of the practice of social work come to life. It's where you learn about your modalities. It's where you learn about your systems. It's where you learn about policy and legislation and macro social work, meso social work, community organizing. Field is where you're going to learn those things. So start asking yourself, what quality of a field experience do I want? I know many people who just like, whatever field experience I get, that's great. But it didn't add to their professional resume in a way that it aligned with what they want to do. I knew I was a macro social worker. So my first internship was with a company that created CE programs. I knew that program development was something that was super important to me. So I spent my time there learning like how to program, how to create programs, how to do case studies animated, how to moderate programs, how to use my voice, how to ask exploring questions on polls and panels, and how to read a Zoom room to the best of my ability. Then my second internship was supposed to be a hybrid therapeutic setting. And I prayed that that didn't work, right? And although I knew that it wasn't going to be the best placement for me, I was willing to do it. And I remember 2 weeks before I found out it fell through, I was like, that doesn't even align with my social work goals. What am I doing? Why did I just take my first field opportunity that Fordham provided me? And thankfully for me, that fell through the cracks and I ended up at the NASW. And that led to so much more things. I'm currently employed with them, right? I say all of this to say field experience matters. So look into field placements that are going to align with your short-term or maybe your long-term career goals, okay? Remember that ethical dilemmas happen. So ask yourself, are you positioning yourself in a place to mitigate that? Make sure that you're giving your clients the respect that you would want to be given if you were in a therapeutic setting. We have to learn as social workers to navigate challenging situations with integrity. It's one of our core values. And I would encourage you right now as a student to ask yourself, how do I deal with stuff that sucks to suck? When things is sucky, how do I navigate? When things are challenging, how do I navigate? Do I have great conflict resolution skills? Do I know how to work with other people? Am I gossiping? Ask yourself, ethically, am I aligned with the social work profession? And when you do your little T chart and you realize the things that you are strong with, your strengths, and then you do the weaknesses, start to work on those weaknesses, practice it, right? So if you are a student and a colleague, aka classmate, got you upset, ask yourself before you start gossiping, is this something that's going to build up the profession, build them up, and make me look like I have integrity? Start to do those little self-checks as a student so that when you enter into the profession, you're able to navigate these challenges with ease. Okay, next thing is advocacy and social change. Whether you are a micro, meso, and macro social worker, you are called to advocacy and social change. You are called to look around and see what is not right and call it out and find solutions to fix it, period. I don't like social workers. I shouldn't say I don't like. It's hard for me to sit in a room with social workers that complain about a problem, but don't have any solution. And I don't want you to be one of those. So as a student, use your voice, start to advocate for things. If you read the syllabus and you saw that you had 2 10-page papers back to back and it doesn't give you the opportunity to provide quality work for this one course, speak up. Trust me, your professors will notice you and you will make an impact on them. And you would honestly help a lot of students that are afraid to speak up. So even as a student, speak up, speak up, speak up. If there's someone in your class that has a preferred name and someone is intentionally not calling them that, speak up. Don't be afraid. As a student, you don't have no real liability. Don't hit nobody, don't disrespect nobody, but speak up. If there are things happening on your campus, speak up, okay? Social work is about making a difference. And I urge students to learn the practice of making a difference, being a change maker everywhere you go as a student. Explore advocacy, policy, know what's happening in your legislator. Know what's happening in politics. Know what's happening in the news. What is local to you that is happening that you can align with to push that narrative that you are for advocacy and social change? Number 8, we have resources as social workers and we love to support social work students. So I encourage you to find out about organizations that align with you, whether that's the NASW, which is the National Association of Social Workers, the NABSW, which is the National Black Association of Social Workers. There's a National Association of Christian Social Workers, Black Girl in Social Work, social workers of color. There are so many groups for social workers. Latinx, there's a Latino social work coalition, I believe. I'm going to put links down below of all of these groups. And if you need a group, tap in, okay? Find your community, tap into these resources. You would be surprised what you find on the internet that can make your student journey 10 times lighter of a load and can support you along the way. So that is it for today's video. I hope it was helpful for you as a student to find some guiding, like a little rule book. I hope you had a notebook and you were able to write down some things. But all in all, it's about making sure that you are good and you are positioned in a way that works for you and supports you as a social work student, as a future social work professional, as an individual mostly. You are a person, you are valuable, you're just not a social worker. You are a person. And I want to make sure that you have the tools to make sure that you are successful in this profession. So until next time, bye.